Welcome to Social Capital Expert, a show where we discover the value of social capital and how cultivating strategic relationships is critical to our success. In each episode, your host, Sarah Frances McDaniel, will explore the stories of fascinating people from all over the world to better understand how their ability to build relationships has led to their success. We will uncover tips, tricks, and practical ways that you too can become a social capital expert. Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm so excited about our special guests, Barbara Brooks and Lupe Hirt. Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
We're excited to be here.
And we have
Riley. Hello, Riley, our mascot. One of two mascots. We have Rigby, that's back at home, but we work in a co-working space that allows dogs, so.
Awesome.
So she goes with us everywhere.
Well, we're glad to have you, Riley. And ladies, you have so much going on. But before we get to what you have going on today, we would love to know just a little bit about your background, maybe where you're from and kind of where you started.
Yeah, you got it. I guess I'll go first. So at 52, I say that for a reason, which we'll dab into a little later. I actually am a Coloradan and born abroad in France, but I'm a child of military parents.
Okay.
And but I've been in corporate America for almost 28 years as an award-winning marketing and PR specialist, and in the shopping center world. But then I had a little foray into the broadcast world in business development for radio and TV and things, working for CBS Radio and iHeartRadio. And but then I became an accidental entrepreneur in 2011. And that led me to start 3 businesses, of which this third company is called Second Act Women, which goes into the idea that, you know, at 52, my age, we're ageless, and we're going to tap into a little bit more about what Second Act Women is, but we're trying to create this movement that says, hey, age doesn't matter. You can and do whatever you wish to do. You can design your life. It's actually an amazing do-over in the second half of midlife. So yeah, so that's where we came in, or where, you know, I started my life. Or
and I'm
not me. Tripping over my words. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too.
And so, as you mentioned, my name's Lupe. I am a Californian. Moved here about, 18 years ago. Crazy to think it's been that long.
I know, my goodness.
But, you know, I kind of delved into the consulting side of PR about 17 years ago. I moved here with my little girl and didn't want to shuffle her off to daycare. So I said, why not start my own business?
Wow.
And, you know, 18 plus now, 20 some odd years later
oh my gosh,
now.
yeah, like 24.
I'm still doing it. So proof that when you can kind of put your mind to just starting up, whether it's for family reasons, passion, money, whatever it might be, you can make it work. But excited to be now on this new venture with Second Act.
Yes.
I transitioned from being a associate producer and a author on a short subject documentary, and now ready kind of just to do something else in my own Second Act as I, you know, just turned 46.
Wow.
So, and got her first tattoo.
Yeah.
I got mine at 40. She got hers at 46. Well, what's interesting too is, just so you know, the world of side hustling is you know, really big, right? But you actually had 2 full-time jobs, because we had the marketing and PR company together for 2 years before we consciously uncoupled. We're #workwives. But then, you know, came back into doing Second Act Women, and which, you know, you joined on after we did some research and excitement was brewing and you were finding your second act.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you were associate producer of this, you know, so full-time, you're traveling across the world, across the US, and So
how did you two meet? When did you two connect?
It was when I was at Park Meadows Retail Resort, and a mutual friend of ours, which at the time was a client of mine with Destination Resorts, we started having cocktails together and really collaborating. Next thing you know, she's joining in on some of our discussions, and you were the publicist for Destination Resorts with Katie. And then we found this really great vibe with each other.
So I can feel it.
Right? So then when I became that accidental entrepreneur, when I couldn't find another job back in corporate, I think because of ageism, when I now look back, you and I were pitching together because we had complementing skills. And so next thing you know, you're saying, hey, I have this idea. We're sitting in our offices, our co-working offices back then.
Yeah,
hey.
I was just tired of working alone. Like, I'm like, I don't want to go at this alone. It's more fun to have someone else, especially since we were so complementary in our skills.
Yeah.
And we were just a good tag team. And so we just like, let's just officially make it happen. Versus just kind of always kind of like, hey, can you come on this pitch with me? Or can you go,
Right.
So it's been a ride.
It has been an amazing ride. And what's really great is, over the course of working together for now 4 or 5 years, literally being partners in crime, we've learned so much about each other. And what I love is that we accept each other for who we are. Yeah, there are times where I get in my head too much and I'm on the verge, which is really rare that I'll even do it in public, but on the verge of like pulling my hair out and nobody would know it. And I want to cry because, I'm ready to give up, but I know I won't. So then I have to call her to pull me off the ledge.
Right.
Or Mama Brooks, that's always first. But yeah, and so, we've seen the good, bad, and the ugly, which has been a really beautiful experience because now it's one where we literally are like sisters.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this true sisterhood.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better partner than to have Lupe.
And right back at you. Love is in the room.
I'm so glad I didn't wear my lashes today because I have a feeling it was going to be some tearing up.
Well, you two are awesome. And the energy and just the positivity and life that is just in this room and in your presence is really inspiring.
Thank you.
The goal of this show is really to just bring awesome people who have interesting stories, who have reached different levels of success, whether it's financial or just freedom in life and overall happiness and wholeness, and really just highlight their whole transition, like their whole kind of journey and the thread of relationships in that journey. You two obviously know how to build relationships, and sometimes the biggest and most important relationships that we build can be the ones in our partnerships and in our families.
That's right.
Do you have any kind of just, things that you make sure you're always aware of, or tips or tricks that you remember in building relationships together and then individually in your network?
Yeah, for me, it's been a thanks to Lupe, and also the Rachel Hollises, the Rene Browns of the world, the Jen Cesaros, reading and really, and I don't know if this is just a time in my life where I've started to have introspection. So for me, I'm very self-aware. So I know that I have these things, and I wish other people could recognize when they have these quirks that may drive other people crazy, or the best part in you. The advice for me, or what's been beautiful really, is to grow and have someone in my life, much like family would do, be real with you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And also know that when you've hurt someone's feelings through a delivery of the way you delivered a message, or you're so quick to say something that you don't recognize until seconds later that you've hurt someone's feelings, or that maybe you've gone too far. That's the beauty in to me in building a relationship. Absolutely. Whether it's through a work-wife situation, work-husband situation, or just in the social capital world. In building relationships.
Yeah,
it's the beauty of knowing yourself a little bit more and getting to that point where you're comfortable with it. You're comfortable with who you are, but also willing to learn.
Yes.
Because I'm still learning at 52. Right. There's times where we've had discussions, and instead of letting it go, it's like, no. She'll say, no, let's talk this through. And that's beautiful to me, when we get talking through it. Next thing you know, we're hugging it out, we're crying, and we're like, we're so lucky that we can do this with each other.
No, I mean, and even to just build on that, I think, it takes time. Like, it's not something that's going to just magically happen. So being patient, being persistent, I think, are keys.
Yeah.
And to her point, I think it's a bi-directional kind of experience too. Like, I need to be willing to give that information or that advice or critique, and then she needs to be willing to receive it.
That's right.
And it has to mentally flow both ways. And if it doesn't, then that's where you experience the hiccups. Yeah. And I think that's where I think we've been really good about, if we have problems, we'll talk it through.
Yeah.
Until we talk it through, we don't leave the room.
Right.
Wow.
And we may not be happy in the moment. We may be crying our eyes out. We may be, and
I can feel it. I can feel it. When we both, no, we haven't. But I can feel it when we both have done something to okay, now she's got to go to the other one.
Retention.
But yeah,
So
absolutely.
being able to work through it, I think, is fundamental. And I think also, having the humility to say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's huge.
I think a lot of people
hard
have
and huge.
ego, and it's difficult, whether it's personal, like whether it's professional. It's powerful to say I'm sorry and to genuinely mean it, though.
Yeah.
Not to just say it for emotion's sake. I think that is what I think has kept us kind of going through, 12 plus years now that we've been friends?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, and you're right, that those are huge pieces of being able to build powerful relationships. When you look at your experience with the people that you're now connected to in your circles, what are some of the things that you said self-awareness. What are some of the things do you think that are important for us to be aware of in ourselves in building these relationships?
Wow, that's a very good question.
I got an answer if you want to marry me.
Yeah.
I think it's understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, and then surrounding yourself by people that help fill in those voids or strengthen your strengths.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think if you can go through life with that lens of saying, you know what, maybe I'm not so strong in this area, and attract people in your life that could be role models to help you show what that needs to look like, or be able to emulate to some degree, and create your own vibe about what that ends up being. Or people that can also, give you, that constructive feedback, and you just continue to grow. I think those would be fantastic relationships that I'm always seeking to find.
I was just going to say, and recently, I'd say over the course of the last maybe 7 or 8 years, you also have to let go of those relationships that aren't good for you. So if they're not self-aware of what they may have going on in their lives, and they're the pessimist, and they're the one that you don't enjoy sitting across from over a cup of coffee or dinner or lunch or whatever it may be, it's really time to let that person go, sadly, if they don't want to accept the constructive criticism that maybe you've given them. Now, of course, delivery again it's very important when you are delivering that message to someone, especially if you want to keep them in your lives and you see that they're a really beautiful person, but maybe they need to soften up on their approach, or just know that, hey, life isn't bad. There are other beautiful things going on, and you need to see the light. You need to see what you can do to turn your circumstance around. So I think it's also important to surround yourself with those people, and maybe possibly divorce those people.
Sometimes, sometimes it's necessary. It's tough.
It's tough because especially if you're a person like us, who really love, for me, I feed off of people. We all feed, I feel like we all three do. Yeah, but you don't want to be around an energy sucker, that person that brings the cancer to the room.
Right.
Where it's like, you can feel it when they walk in the room. I don't have time for that right now. Absolutely. Life is not perfect. We've all been through the struggle, and we're starting a new company, so trust us when we say we're going through the struggle. It's a beautiful struggle, and we need those people around us that will help to continue to lift us up.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. It's obvious that you guys are full of passion. Can you just share with us a little bit about... just a little. Can you... I feel like everything's like humming up here. I don't know if you can feel it through there, but I'm like... can you share just a little bit about where you find that passion, or where you feel like it comes from?
For me, I would say it dates back to when I was a little girl, and I know this sounds cliche, but I'm very blessed to have the mom that I have, because she has raised a very powerful, confident alpha female who now believes even more in herself than ever before. Even when she would tell me these beautiful things, I wouldn't believe it. Like, for instance, when I was younger and I hated my legs. I was like this little Tweety bird thing, and I hated my legs, and I hated my lips, because I was called Big Lip Barb by the boys. And it was just a struggle at times, right? Because thank God it's not the times of Facebook, by the way. Right. My mom instead would say, you're going to love those lips one day. And her favorite person was Sophia Loren. Yes. And so she's like, trust me, you're beautiful as you are. And those legs are gorgeous. I still wouldn't believe it for years to come. But I'm lucky that my passion and my joy and my uplifting attitude really comes from my mom, who never, ever gives up. And she's been through it. There's been some things in her life that has really taken her to the brink of craziness, and meaning that she's just experienced some really tough things in life. But she's always found a way to come out. Now, that's what I have grown into is and there's times now where I look at pictures and I look at myself and I see my mom now.
Wow.
So it's really crazy. She is resilient, and that's where it comes from for me, and just living life, and also being happy at this age of 52. And enjoying this new found freedom in my head. Even. Like it's a weird thing that's happening. It's beautiful. Beautiful and weird can be good together.
Yeah, no, I think they totally coexist. I mean, without a doubt, I think both, and that's why both of our moms are also up on our website.
They're on our website
because it is a heartfelt, overwhelming, just gratefulness. For our moms. And I know that not everybody has the perfect relationship with their parent, but man, mine's pretty freaking close. Like I feel like ours is just amazing the way that we can kind of just go off of each other, and I think it's just. She could be my rock, at any time, and I can, good, bad, whatever it might be. She's always got words of wisdom. I think specifically as it relates to the business, I think it's the energy that the women bring. Like the comments that give us on, whether it's Facebook at our events.
We are feeding off of that.
You feel this energy that we have here, multiply that by like
200 women,
whatever, right? And it's off the hook. And to me, I think that is where it just refuels our passion to know we're on the right track, and just continues to move us, because we're in our own second act, 46 at 52. And so to be in it and also preaching it,
it's beautiful.
It's crazy.
We created this new thing last year, second act. I know we're probably going to talk about it.
Let's just talk about it.
Let's do it. Because here's what happened is I was going through my own. Okay, so women had a point. And it depends on the growth and your own mindset and all of that. So this new life stage can happen at any time. For meaning midlife crisis. For women, we really look at the midlife crisis is really not about trying to be 25 again, or date younger men, or dress sexier than we ever have, although we can because we are. But it's more about it's more about taking a journey. And so we call it a midlife quest that these women are on. So instead of a midlife crisis, we are on this journey, because at this point in time in life, and I remember Oprah when she turned 50, and I was 38 at the time, thinking 50 is old. I remember her saying specifically, I have never felt more alive. I've never felt more confident. I've never felt more thrilled about her future. Obviously it's Oprah, so she's always got a great future. She's went through her trials and tribulations. But I remember thinking at the time, wow, that seemed old to me. And now there's a cultural shift that's happening. Absolutely. And even you're below 40 and you're even feeling, you're knowing, and other women in their 30s and 40s are knowing that it's not about age. It truly is a number. That's all it is. And so what's happening is that, sadly, corporate America and brands and advertisers and ourselves, we're our own messenger, our own negative messenger, saying we can't do this, we can't do that, we're too old to wear skinny jeans, we're too old to wear cute little tennis shoes with a graphic tee, but instead of that, we are not too old to do. There are 1,821 businesses a day started by women in the United States.
Wow.
And the projections are far more than that when it comes to what we have, what's going to be happening in our lives as women, no matter the age. So the second act came about in that last year I was experiencing. When I joked about how we consciously a couple, it's because we were both trying to find ourselves. She was on her other passion project. Our company, which was called Decibel, was a marketing and public relations and event company. And while we loved it and we had the really great clients, they were beautiful people and companies, we weren't passionate. We were passionless. And we started getting really bored of life for me. I as a single woman and only have a fur baby, which is in and out of scene. Sorry about that. I started reevaluating life, and I was in my own midlife crisis, not realizing it was a journey I was about to take. And so I also admittedly have depression. I live with depression, and so there are times, and not anyone except for my closest friends knew at the time until I came out with my depression in January of this year, or February. I was going through it, and then I discovered that I wanted to go back to corporate so I can have a steady income. And you know what? I'm just going to live the rest of my life, my next 40, 50 years, just, retire with a corporation, right? But then I couldn't get hired. I was getting the interviews, but then they're seeing suddenly, my age, and they're seeing the experience level, and they're figuring out my age. That's what's happening. And I couldn't find anything. And so what happened was, I had an idea on the shelf for 5 years since I became an entrepreneur. Now, anyone that knows me I love people, and I love connecting with people, and I love bringing them together, and I love hosting parties.
And you host some good ones.
Oh, thank you. And so I decided, the Lord said to me, wait a minute, why don't you put those two passions together? And because I had started doing some self-evaluation, it came to me at a time that I was trying to find myself, that, wait a minute, I need to mind map my life. I'm a big mind mapper. I need to figure out what it is I like to do, what I don't like to do, put those two together. Next thing you know, I'm pulling that idea off the shelf. And it was going to be Women's Business Week, because I wanted other women to come together and learn the good and the bad that I had gone through and learn from others. And instead, when I'm doing research, and Lupe, thankfully, even though by then we had sort of quit the company, I had one client on board. She was along with me, and literally the first day of me figuring out what Second Act, what this new thing was going to be, we did a brainstorm, and we started hearing more and more women over 40 and 50 we're finding that they're passionless, they want to switch careers, they want to start up, they don't want to start up, they just want to connect with other women over 40, and we're starting to hear these beautiful stories, and Second Act was born. Although this is the third name for it, because we couldn't settle on it, and she knows I'm a changer. I don't know if it's the Libra in me. We went through 3 iterations of the name, but we moved forward on doing what was originally just going to be an event company for women over 40 and 50, and it turned into something much larger. It turns out there's nothing like this in the country that we can see through our research that is focused on this beautiful female body of every age over 40, every size, every skinny jean or not skinny jean. These women are ready to live. They want to live, and they just want to figure out what it is they want to do in the next phase of their life. So that's where Second Act Biz LifeCon was born, and we're blessed to have the companies come on board to believe. We had companies believe in our message and what we were trying to do before the women understood what we were trying to do. Right? We sat in our hotel room the night before our event, which, by the way, we had to pivot. We had the event that we were putting together in 7 months time, thanks to an amazing team of women. And then, sure enough, it's a week out, we had only sold 23 tickets to this major event that we were trying to do, a first of its kind. And so we had to pivot, and we moved the date. Next thing you know, we're at 84 tickets the night before, and the day of, we get an influx of women who are walking up to come, because finally they had gotten what we were trying to do. And that day was a beautiful day.
It's magical.
It was magical. We sat there afterwards, ready to get our drink on, but dead tired. So we were like this. Poor thing had to sleep in the same bed with me. I'm all snoring. But it was just such a magical day. We had to look at each other several times at the end of it and go, wow, what did we just create? Is the world ready for this? Are we ready for this?
I know, right? Buckle in.
So anyway, so I'll turn. She knows I'm a talker, and I just get so overjoyed.
No, I think that. Honestly, I think that's a perfect synopsis of it all. I think, what's been, I think, the most beautiful about it too is I think it's been the women we've met along the way. And I think the journey that we're taking as individuals and as partners as well too, but I think the lives that we are seeing and we're affecting, and even just the other day we had a woman say, I attended one of your workshops, I listened to what they taught me, I applied it in an interview setting, and I got the job.
Wow. Just from a career workshop that we had.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. And that to us, I think, is beyond
what we even expected.
So it's beautiful how the Lord and the need that we're seeing in our society, and combined with our passions, it's just a perfect intersection of just awesomeness. that I think we're bringing into the world.
Yeah.
And we're being met with like open arms. So
and yeah, we can't believe it. I mean, and the fact is that we just started this whole movement that we're of trying to disrupt ageism, so to speak, first within ourselves, and then secondly and thirdly and fourthly with brands and corporations. And we want women to be hired. We don't want them to be pushed aside. We don't want them to go into an interview with hope only that they're just being interviewed because they have to fill, an age just to be interviewed. We want these women that are ready to take on a new career, to get it, to do it, to be given that chance, while at the same time still keeping the young one. I mean, we were all, Gen Xers for us. We were all in that same spot, although we didn't look at our coworkers as being too old to be there, which is what's happening. Instead, we want to encourage coexistence, and as they call it, intergenerational staffing. And so we have some ideas in the future, which we'll tell you about on camera because it's pretty exciting. That we're going to be doing for those women who don't want to start up. And then there's a side of it's just all exciting. Like literally, I started tearing up when I was listening to you because I'm like, it really is quite amazing. And as she's speaking, I'm thinking even about the growth that we're still experiencing every day. I wake up and I try to do an affirmation, and I just can't help and do a prayer when I remember to. It's just amazing what's what it's doing for us too, because we're our own target.
Absolutely.
So.
It really is so timely. I mean, we've had some ladies on the show already, and some, in my life even, I'm thinking even of my own mom. I mean, it's like, there's so much to offer. There's so much experience and so much wisdom and passion about things. And so being able to have a place that they can connect and feel a part of that community. Yeah. And I think there is a transition of some kind that happens in that 50-ish age range where you're trying to find your place. And I look at the women that we've even had on the show so far who are in that 50-ish range, and they have this history of trial, but also success and triumph. And they've done great things. I mean, you have enough time to have done some really cool stuff by this point. But then it's looking to the future and saying, I'm not who I used to be. I'm becoming someone new, but what does the world have for me and how do I fit in there? And so I'm so excited to see this movement because I believe that the time really is now where it's just such a need for women in that second act to have a place to come and to connect. And you guys are fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
I can't wait. I have lots of women I need to introduce to this.
We're so happy to have you on this journey. And it's interesting because you had tagged your mom in a post when we were doing, and you couldn't make the second conference because she was one of ours that was buying that ticket to go to the first one that we had.
And I was taking my mom. But
you made a great point too, is that we're making this transition, and we're going from being successful to maybe in our own heads now not being as successful as we were because maybe we're stuck or we've gotten pushed out of a job, and we're looking at our future as if, is there a future? And so now and then now what we're trying to do is get you to go back to having those feelings of success and happiness and passion that you had when you were in your 30s and 40s, or I'm sorry, 20s and 30s, because it's there. It's just a matter of finding what that thing is. And trust us, we're still trying to, even with this company, figure out where we're taking the company. So we've been working on this business plan, by the way, since May. We did things backwards.
Evolving.
I know. We did the event and created, we have this wonderful team of women. Thank you.
Sure.
She's trying to sip from it. I love her, but I won't sip from the dog. But so in listening, and we can't wait to listen to your podcast and hear from some of these same women to see how we can do what we're trying to do and achieve to help empower, inspire, provide resources so that we can help those women. But we're still figuring out, what are some of those things that we're going to do.
You just need to look at it as another life stage.
It really is.
It's a time for growth. It's a time for change in the household where maybe, kids are going off to college, maybe you're divorced, maybe you're single, maybe you're widowed, maybe you're in a career shift, so many scenarios. But it's just a matter of looking at it through a lens of, okay, I've built here's my years of experience to this point. what's next? What fills my heart? You know, what am I passionate about?
Yeah.
And build upon those, because I think what we do is in this stage, we come into a time and place now where you have the luxury of choice to some degree.
Yeah.
And you have also, I think, a deeper calling for impact, a deeper calling for leaving legacy, a deeper level for connecting.
Yeah.
Than we did when we were shuffling around kids or trying to kind of just stay, you know, keep our heads above water.
Yeah, and stay friends with, you know, with Cindy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything else, right?
You know what I mean?
Checklist.
Like, yeah,
So I think
the popular kid or whatever.
It's a beautiful opportunity, I think, to really kind of do some self-reflection and to be open-minded to see what you see in the mirror.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that is such wonderful insight. And do you have, you know, sometimes we just do feel like we've lost our passion, or maybe those things that excited us have sort of gone dormant. Do you have any insight or things that you would encourage women or men too to do when they're feeling that way?
For me, and I'm only going off of what I'm hearing from other women right now, and even what I've done for myself, is when you're ready, you'll know it. It's like there's this gut that tells you, okay, I am finally ready to get off the pot. I'm finally, oh my God. In Colorado, that means something different, doesn't it? Whoops.
Let's get on the pot.
Right? Maybe for some, that's what it is. But that's so funny. But I think a lot of times we start reading these books that help us start to think about life differently.
Right.
So there's getting in book clubs, and there's reading the Rene Browns again, and the Rachel Hollises and things. And for some reason, what happens is you start really reading these books, not just because you're in a book club or not. You actually start taking notes and highlighting. And for me, I do Audible because I have a short attention span. And then I get the book too, so I'm spending the extra dollars, but then I get the book so that I can highlight certain things. That too. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It works.
It totally works. So then it's actually when that gut is telling you, or starting to bubble up, or you're starting to get this whisper that says, all right, it's time. Or you have friends that are telling you need to do that idea. Remember when you keep saying you're going to do that? Just do it. Just do it. Even if it's a side hustle or what have you. So there's a time where I think that you start to get the feeling it's time to do something. And then what I like to do, and I really suggest to other people, is mind mapping whatever it is, right? We did that with you when we were sitting at Panera Bread.
I still carry it in my notebook.
And then, of course, I
this
carry
podcast
mine.
was on that mind.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And so, when you start getting that idea bubbling up and that whisper is starting to become a shout, then get out a piece of paper, and you don't necessarily have to do the mind map. I just happen to be a creative junkie. That's the way I think. But start making lists. Start talking to your friends. Start surrounding yourself, which kind of comes naturally, I think, after you hit a certain time in life, with those friends that are ready to help push you into that area, because that's what happened. Is I had Lupe, and I had this guy who was my former crush. He's not bad to look at, ladies. His name is Rene Brown, and when I started talking about doing something, finally it was like, baby bird out of the nest. You're ready, Barb. Like, just do it. You've got all the talents. So when you recognize some of the things that you want to do that are resonating with you, take action. That's number one. Start.
Yeah.
Start. Whatever that means to you in starting, take action. So if it's writing something down, if it's starting to make calls, if it's meeting with people that are in that industry that you've always wanted to be in, start doing that. Get those meetings with people. If you want to switch careers, for sure, take those meetings. We're discovering the city of Denver, one of the executive recruiters, if you meet her, she's all about, doing coffee with you. And people don't recognize that it's about connection, and this sounds so cliche, and I hate the word networking, so I'm going to use connecting.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Start connecting. Not just with those people. Start joining women's organizations that are in the direction of where you think you want to go.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times these women already feel empowered and confident, which is some of the buzzwords we use. But there's also a time where you where you just have to get off
The pot.
right.
But I'm
Right?
Or on. I mean, I haven't quite decided which
She
way
even had to
that
give me a
goes.
high five.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
What do you say?
You know, well, for me personally, I entered a self-discovery journey back in July of last year. I met with my first Reiki healer.
Okay.
And I started to learn a little bit more about energy work and the job that our mind does on us. It can work us over if we let it. And I'm nowhere near kind of where I would say I'm always, positive or anything like that. But I've learned to accept two things. One is change is part of life. Scary as heck. Don't get me wrong. It's still
As hail.
scares
You could
me.
say it.
Scary as hell. All right. Scary, but
Totally.
it's a sign that you're alive.
Yes.
And so don't be always so quick to dismiss change as a negative part of what's going on around you. Take the
That is good.
opportunity to embrace it.
Right.
And it can be small little steps. It doesn't have to be something so monumental that it terrifies you, but do those little steps every day. Just acknowledge, hey, today I'm going to take a different route home.
Yeah.
Small little change.
I want you to
whatever
tell them
it
what
might be.
you've done recently that shocked me. Because you're the person that when we would get a new account or something, I'd say, let's take a picture. And she'd have to look
You
at
know
I'd have to take
Barb,
like 10. I know, right? Because I don't care what angle I'm at. We would have to take like 10 pictures and she'd have to go through them. And then don't give her your phone because she'll delete them.
No.
And now it's like this new awakening since last year, and taking and realizing what your second act is. I mean, tell them what you're doing and that you're like,
Okay, well, so I hate
I'm
public
shocked.
speaking. It's not my thing. I don't like to
And I
be
was
in
like,
front
baby,
of present. I don't like to present. Period.
Yeah.
Conversations like this, I'm good at. But
Yeah.
like you put me in front of a stage, and I literally will like.
or 5 people.
Yeah, or 5 people
Presenting.
All right,
Yeah.
just presenting in general. I took my own advice. I said change is good, and I kept hearing, you've got just a really good presence to you. You've got a lot of good things to say. You should be up there. Barb was amazing in that. I mean, she was just always like, come on. Oh my gosh, she does. She was like my biggest cheerleader, and for that, I so she is one of the reasons why I'm here today.
Awesome.
And I'm now taking Toastmasters.
Cool.
And I started
She kills it.
a few months ago. I opened up our conference, which for me was a huge, huge deal because I mean, we were in front of 130 plus women.
Wow.
And I felt so alive. So scared, but still alive.
Yeah.
And it just goes back to that whole idea of like sometimes we need to move in circles that help kind of peel the layers that we've put on our own self.
Right.
And say, hey, you know what? Let's shine that toy up a little bit, or let's peel that one layer off and let you kind of try something different, so as to move and uncover things about yourself that others see, but maybe you don't see yourself because you've built such a strong wall around yourself or a strong layer.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of a really cool thing. And the last thing I would say is don't be afraid to be by yourself. Take some time to reflect.
Wow.
We're so like around noisiness all the time.
Yeah.
Like life just noisy. And it's in those quiet moments that I know you take some too, doing your affirmations and all that.
Oh yeah.
Where you learn a little bit about yourself. It's amazing when you quiet down the soul, quiet down the mind, and just take a moment to ask the universe, source, God, however you want to interpret that, for guidance.
Yeah.
That it comes to you. You just got to be willing to receive it and willing to see the signs around you that are constantly flooding you. But because we're so loud in our life, we don't take the time to see them.
Yep.
That is huge. I mean, that's good stuff. You guys
Right.
I mean, you're just dropping wisdom like it's change.
Mic drop.
This is awesome. It is very encouraging. You know, I think that's the idea, is to just encourage and inspire people to just keep going and to try something if they haven't tried it before, or even if they have and they didn't get the results that they wanted, just to keep pushing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
never give up.
quit. Yeah.
I wear it. I can't believe I didn't put it on today. Oh, shame on me. I always wear usually a cross or my bear, my veil bear that I lost. Sorry, friends. He gave it to me for my 50th. But I always wear this bracelet that says "Never Give Up." I got it at Target, and it has been something that I look at. I even have it on my cell phone, because never have I been so right, or this message, I should say, than to never give up, because there are things that are starting to manifest, which I never thought I'd be that person that would even use that word, that are starting to manifest, because I'm not about the universe and all that. You know? But it's true that these things, when you put things out, it's coming back in droves to me right now. There are so many opportunities that are coming to us and myself that I had wanted to do when I was younger, that are just, I go on an interview last week and suddenly I'm sent on a call to do something, and I get it, and then this thing may turn into something really cool next year, and then it's like, oh my God, I wanted to do this when I moved back to Colorado, 19 years ago. And I am a testament, which I tell everyone every day, is to not ever give up. Don't give up on yourself. Listen, be ready for change, take the change, learn from it, and move on. And don't let anybody tell you you can't. Because I've had plenty of those.
Well, those are the
I've been fired in my life that I never thought, exactly. You know what I mean? And suddenly, by the way, you don't know this, suddenly I'm on a dating app and I'm getting I'm finally out there ready to maybe meet my man. Not maybe, but I'm ready.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be in the show notes.
I was talking to someone this morning. He's out of state, but at least I'm trying.
Hey,
So it's like so crazy, and then and by the way, I'm at a point in my life where I'm not comfortable, and I'm trying to get comfortable with my body. This is a new body for me that I've had. I shouldn't say new, because it's been here for 12 years now. It's just, I'm now at my heaviest. But for some reason, there are times where I look in the mirror and I say, I hate how I look, but then there's the 80% of the time that's starting to come out that says, I'm kind of proud of these curves that I never had, and these legs that are filled out now. And so it's taken me all this time to get to this point. For some, it comes earlier. For me, I've always been a young number in a sense, in mind and thoughts and all of that sort of thing. And so, I just want people to know that accept all of this really beautiful change that's happening in our lives, because it is beautiful. It's beautiful.
And it's so awesome, because a big piece of what comes out in the show when I talk to people who have really leveraged or figured out how to leverage their ability to build relationships, make relationships into success in their life, is this idea of being authentic. And just loving yourself right where you are. And then other people can love you right there too.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Would you want to be loved for anything other than being authentic?
Right.
Because that's just too much work to keep up.
Too much work.
Right. Like, well, how was I with this person? How was I with that person? And but if you're real all the time, then you know that the people you're attracting are attracted to who
Realness.
You are as a true person.
That's right.
And that's like those best kinds of relationships, where those are the ones you keep forever.
Yeah.
So.
And trust me, I've had people that don't like this energy and who are like, I'm going to stay away from that girl. We all have those that, there's going to be people that don't like you for you, or whether it's, whatever it may be, but damn, it's exciting to just accept myself and be on this growth phase still to accepting. And by the way, I lied. I'm like 70-30. And we're 30% of me is like, I just need to eat right, especially my doctor told me I should. But I love Taco Bell.
Right, I know.
It's
fire sauce. I love fire sauce. It's horrible. It's the worst.
Taco Bell if you're listening.
I know, right? Especially Chipotle. Burrito a week.
Oh my gosh. In just the essence of social capital, can you guys just kind of talk, and I think this relationship is probably one of them, but how relationships have really been critical to your success?
Well, interesting enough, I had to Google what social capital was, because I know what human capital is, and in terms of staffing and HR and all that, I hadn't thought of, this is a new term, and I noticed that it's really big. But what was the question again? I just got so excited.
I know, it's okay. It's just kind of how relationships have been critical in your success.
They're critical. But that's also because of the type of person I am. I get my energy from other people. And so for me, it's been very critical to not only, as we said earlier, associate with the right people, but also still find those new friends. You know, and by the way, you're never too old to find friends that are going to be lifelong friends, and or a seasonal friend, because there are those seasonal friends. You're like a tree; they just fall off during that season. But then you got the roots, which is what this one here is, and my best friends that I have in other locations in Indiana and a couple other places. But it's really important for me to, you know, like we said earlier, I love my alone time, and now I've lived my entire life since college as you know, a one household place. I even worry about what my future looks like when it comes to finding that right guy. But it's important for me. It's it's a part of me. It's my DNA. I have to have people that I connect with and that I can call on a dime or text. I'm a texter. You say, hey, you want to go grab a drink, or let's go grab coffee. It's really important for me to have those friendships.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's true capital for me.
And I think also too, building the kind of relationships that will endure your ebbs and your flows is important, especially in business, because I think we realize that, you know, we may, you know, you founded it, I helped co-found it, but it's bigger than us. And so building the relationships to be able to call on women when we need them to come, hey, I need you to kind of help me registration, or like our board, shout out to our board, you know, and our committee of women who just like roll up their sleeves with us. And so those relationships are built on trust, passion, but mutual respect too.
Big time.
And so for us, we always have this you know, this kind of saying between us, we're loyal unless you do us wrong. And I think you should always give anybody the benefit of the doubt.
That's right.
To just say, you're gonna like ride high in my book until you do me wrong. And hopefully we never have to like, you know, check that, you know, in this book. But and so we return the favor. You know, when we have opportunities, we're sure to go back to those people that have been loyal to us, because we want to show our loyalty and our support to them as well.
Because we're all about that. I mean, you do for me, and I want to do triple for you. Because, and like she said, we have these women, Brielle, for instance, who is just jumped on board. I met her at a conference, a women's conference last November, and we got bored, so we started talking to each other versus doing this little thing we're supposed to do. And I was like, I'm starting this new thing. Do you want to come on board? And she's a graphic designer, a web designer. Next thing you know, she's like donating her time to us. You can bet we're going to remember that, and we are remembering that. And you know, earlier this morning, Janet, who's going to help us with our SEO, Sheena out of Atlanta, and Jessica, who has like 1 million jobs,
and Julie and Ben,
hello, our videographers. Like, and there's so many. There's the Rachels. There's so many people we can do a shout out as if it's like an award show. But if we wouldn't be here, honestly, and look as good as we do in the public eye as far as our graphics, and we did our own website. But
to you.
It's our copywriting skills. So it's important.
Don't compromise it. Don't dismiss it.
And people want to give and help.
It's got just
take it.
Yeah, it's got as much worth as financial investment.
That's right. It sure does.
Absolutely.
Well, but when the time is right, you can bet they're going to be. We can't wait to get back.
Oh my gosh. So this has been so fun to have you ladies here. And thank you so much for being a guest. You know, we'd love to just kind of get your final thoughts before we close the show. Is there anything that you just want to make sure that you don't shut down the show without letting people know?
Oh yeah.
I think
all right. Yes. You know, obviously join the conversation on our socials.
Yes.
Especially our Second Act Women Facebook group page. We're now getting people from across the country, and I just approved, because we go in and we ask questions, because we like to do our research, so that we know we're doing things right for you. There's a woman from Copenhagen who just joined our group. Yeah, so cool. So join us there. We do have a YouTube channel that will be officially launching. We do have videos there. Obviously, it's under Second Act. But you know, if you're in Colorado, please join us.
Yes.
The goal is to do more things here in Colorado, but then we're going global. I mean, national and then global.
Let's just go global,
right? I mean, let's just skip. So the goal is that, you know, we want you to join us in on this mission of and taking your second act to the umpteenth level and enjoying it.
Awesome.
And enjoying this midlife stage that we're in. And so, we have a conference coming up that we will be doing in Denver twice a year, spring and fall. And thanks to Microsoft, I hate to say, I know I just have to, because they were one of those companies
amazing.
that came on board in 10 minutes of me talking to him at the store. He said, I'm in. I get it. We believe in you. Women over 40 have been misrepresented, and sorry about this. And so, there's just more. Yeah, I could say.
Well, we will have all of that in the show notes. So be sure
awesome.
to look at the show notes so you can find out when their next conferences are and how to get in touch with them.
Yes.
And so that's all kind of like the, how to support us and how to keep the movement going. I think for, collectively for both of us too, we're going to put out a challenge. Like the next time you find a girlfriend who's maybe in her midlife, and she's talking to you about an idea that maybe you're like looking at her going, oh, she's crazy, I don't know what she's thinking about. Instead of judging, support her.
That's right.
Like pass on what we're trying to create by, doing this network of self, mutual and buddy empowerment and just women empowerment. Take it and apply it. And then, maybe after you're done with that, just say, hey, I got that from Second Act.
Yes.
Hashtag
Second Act.
Hashtag Second Act is right. And hashtag ageless.
Ageless. This is my shirt. She said she brought my shirt.
I did. And then, I'll get too off to drop it back by.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has been fabulous, and thank you again for coming. You two rock.
Yay!
And we are so excited to see where this goes and how this movement continues. And we would love to have you back again.
We'd love it.
And keep us posted.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being our first.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, thank you. This is our first time doing this as a team. Actually, our first time. So thank you. And we even have a national appearance on a show tomorrow. So thank you.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have that posted as well.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for joining us. That's all for this episode of Social Capital Expert. Please visit socialcapitalexpert.com for show notes, additional episodes, and to see who will be visiting us next on the show. Also, be sure to check out our upcoming Social Capital Mixers. These are events where we can connect in person to build social capital. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to having you join us for the next episode.